we were making this transition from the smaller, plodding, heavyweight style with the bigger guys that didn't move much. They were solid in their execution and impressive to watch, but their matches were kind of lackluster, and there wasn't as much movement or speed. But with Dynamite, he completely revolutionized the whole promotion and territory, and he just made others look so good. I mean, he was just so talented. You couldn't have a bad match with him. But I think his matches, especially with my brother Bret, who'd only been working about a year in the business and was small himself. Bret was probably only about 200 pounds. He might have had 10 pounds on Dynamite. The chemistry that they had together was just incredible, especially when we turned Dynamite heel and paired him up with John Foley as his manager. JR kind of brainwashed him and convinced him to turn heel. And there's that connection because Foley was from England as well. And he was building up this empire of heel wrestlers to go against the Hart Mafia, as he called them. Dynamite fit perfectly into that role, so after less than a year, we turned him heel, and now he's having incredible matches. And there's so much more of a rivalry when it's a heel against babyface rather than just babyfaces. So his first matches with Bret were babyface versus babyface, but when we saw how well they worked together, we changed him heel, and then there's just much more interest there because it was not only two guys that were evenly matched and having great matches, but it was a vendetta. He was fighting for Foley's army and trying to wipe out all the Harts, and those matches were just incredible. And I think that's what enabled him to get booked to Japan, and Bret as well. And they owed so much to each other, and I think those early matches they had kind of set in motion the career path that they were going to have, because they had incredible matches together. And then Bret became a better worker as a result of working with Dynamite. Dynamite transitioned very well to the North American style, working against Bret, and their matches were incredible. But he also had really good matches with Bruce and the Japanese that came over as well. So the thing about Dynamite was he worked well against anybody. But if you had someone that could sort of keep up with him and work his style, it was even better.
With because you brought up Bret and something from Steve's book, Dynamite and Davey, I'm getting them plugs in today, let me tell you. Within the book, Steve mentions quite a few times how intimidated Bret was of Dynamite's ability, and intimidated also just of like how hard-nosed Tom was as a personality as well. Do you remember, if you cast your mind back to 40 years ago, do you remember having any conversations with Bret about how, to get over his nerves or how to deal with Tom in the ring or anything like that?
I know their very first match they had, which I think was just a kind of a spot show. I think it might have been in Saskatoon, and it was Dynamite had been here maybe about a month, and we were just sort of establishing him. We were just getting him over against different local guys. But Bret was very green. Bret had only been wrestling maybe 2 months at the time. He had a very successful amateur career, but he was very green professionally. And he was just getting ready to tour Puerto Rico with my brother Smith. So it wasn't even a scheduled match. It was basically a situation where somebody else didn't show up, and they had to put Bret against Dynamite because he was a smaller guy. And Bret was very uncomfortable with, because he Tom certainly had a different style with, kind of coming from England, and a lot of things he did, some of the wrestlers weren't used to or accustomed to. And so with Bret, he felt uncomfortable. He said, I don't know if I can have a great match with Dynamite. I'm not experienced enough with him. I'm not really familiar with his style enough. And Tom took that as an insult. He felt Bret didn't want to work with him. Bret had no problems putting him over because that's what he was doing. And there was a clash, and Tom sort of had the idea of this. He's the promoter's son, and he he's afraid of having to put me over or work with me. So I don't know how bad a match it was. I didn't see it, but I know Tom didn't sell for him, and he took a lot of liberties with Bret, just to kind of put him in his place. And I think Bret got a bloody nose out of it, and and he gave Tom a few potatoes as well. But and then so their very first match certainly didn't get off to a very good start. But I think that was mostly because of Bret's lack of experience, and he just felt he was out of Tom's element, and he really wasn't sure if they could have a good match together. And I think it's something he would have rather had some time to think about. If he had known like a week beforehand, maybe he could have worked out with Tom and put a match together. But in this situation, they had basically 5 minutes just to go in there and work, and they were just sort of given their finish. But so it certainly didn't get off to a very good start. But Bret matured, and he went to Puerto Rico and he wrestled there for a few months. And when he came back, he put on some size, and his work improved a lot. He was getting some experience and more confidence. And then a few months later, Bret had won the title at Dynamite. Had dropped before he went to Germany, and so there was a storyline for Dynamite to challenge Bret for the title. And this time it was much better. They had like a 1 hour draw on television in Calgary, and because they knew each other a little more and there's a better understanding with each other, it was an incredible match. It was back and forth, and Bret was able to keep up with Dynamite and go the distance with him, and there was a level of respect that they gained for each other that they hadn't the first time, and it was just an incredible relationship they had, and they never had a bad match after that. And then after these babyface matches, we kind of came up with the idea for Dynamite to turn heel, and that just created a whole new program. And then he had some matches with Bruce as well. Bruce was a junior heavyweight at the time, so Dynamite had tag teamed with Bruce prior to that, and then when he turned heel, that created a storyline for him to work against all the Harts, Bruce, Bret, Keith, and then other baby faces as well. So